Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Brandon from the Old School Game Vault, and today we're going to do a quick demo on how to change out a Nintendo NES pin connector. So basically we have our Nintendo NES. Tools we're going to need is, I like to use an eraser. I like to use a drill bit. This drill has got a little long Phillips adapter. I always use a small Phillips adapter. If you don't have a drill, that's fine. You can just use a Phillips screwdriver. Just take a little bit longer. And so those are really the tools that I need. So what I'm going to do is we're going to screw in our long Phillips bit. And we're going to take out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws out of here. Once we have the 6 screws, the reason I use the long bit is really for this part, because you can get in the holes, really good with the long bit. So that's where the long bit comes into place. You can get it generally at your local hardware store. So once the 6 screws come out the bottom, what I like to do is flip it over and get all your screws, all your 6 screws. I like to get them the rest inside the shell, so that way we don't lose our screws. Alright, so now we got our 6 screws in there. Yeah, we got 5 screws. Now we got 6 screws. So I keep the shell around just for holding on to your screws. Now what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws right here. They're little gold screws. Pretty much all the screws are going to look very similar, except for 2. And I'll show you which 2. Once again, I keep these in my shell so I don't lose anything. Take out our side screws. Alright, now we're just left with the 2 in the back. So we'll take those out. And our last one. Alright. Now our little shell plate right here comes right off. Now we're left with the inside. Here's our old pin connector right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws we got to take out right here. So we'll begin taking them out. Once again, put them in your shell so we don't lose our screws. And I told you we had 2 different screws. And the 2 different screws are right here. If you look, we have a silver screw here and a silver screw here. They're going to be a little longer. I'll show you when I take this one out. So, as you can see, these screws are going to be a little longer. And so I just keep these 2 separately. As you can see, here's your gold screw, here's your silver screw. A little longer, so just keep those 2 separately. What we're going to do is take off the little cartridge inserter. Now we're just left with our empty board, and this is our old pin. What I like to do is just kind of push it right out. I just use my thumbs. And that's our dead pin connector. This is what I like to use the eraser for. We have our little board right here, and I just like to put an eraser on here. This helps clean off any old carbon, any gunk, debris. I mean, these guys are about 30 years old now. So I just kind of take my eraser and just rub that off. This is also a trick that you can use in your cartridges. I do have a video explaining how to do that. So now what we're going to do is have our 2 pins. Now right here, you're going to see we got our 2 holes and our 2 holes. Now this one goes on the board. So what we're going to do is just slide them right in, pick up our board a little bit, slide our connector in. Now you notice, if you can see this, underneath our board right here there's a little lip. So this part needs to go underneath our board when we slide it back on. So we're going to take our little cartridge guy, slide him back in there, line him up, make sure he slides underneath the board, like so. Now we're going to just do the reassembly. So remember the 2 long screws, I'll just put those right in their place. They're the second one back. And same over here. Now I have all my screws and my lid and my console, so I can just kind of put them back my screws in their slots. Then we can just reassemble. It's pretty simple. Now the thing about when you do a new pen connector like this, it's very important that your games are very clean. The NES console is like a clean game, so if you put in a new pen connector and your games aren't really clean, it may not read it. I have a video that shows you how to go ahead and properly clean your games. So check that out. There's nothing too really hard. Really, it's pretty simple. So now we have our screws in this. Now this is kind of the important part. You want to make sure that our cartridge slot moves up and down like this. If it doesn't, if it gets stuck, you may have to unloosen one of these screws a little bit. But just to make sure it does this. So that checks out. So now we're going to put a little metal shell back on. And I like to put my screws in my holes. Just makes it go a little quicker when you put everything back together. Alright, now we're going to start screwing these in. I don't generally put my screws in as tight as they would go. I just make them flush with the board. I guess if you wanted to put them in as tight as you could, you could. And then last two in the back. Now we have our metal shell in place. What do you want to do? Make sure, once again, our cartridge slot goes up and down like it should. This guy seems good. Once again, if you just get stuck, you might have to just loosen one of these screws that you put in place. But this guy is pretty good. Now what we're going to do is take our 6 screws out of our shell. We'll stick them in our little paws here. Now, I'll take my little Phillips bit out. Put my big Phillips bit back in. Drop my screws in their places. Oops, shoot. Come back here. There's our 3 screws in the back. We'll do the same thing on the front. 1, 2, and 3. Once again, I don't tighten the heck out of them. I just until they get flush. Oops, bit fell off. All right. Now our screws are in place. The last thing again to check is make sure our cartridge slot goes up and down as it should. And as you can hear, it goes up and down. So that's how you replace a pen in a Nintendo NES system. Now what you want to do is make sure everything checks out. So check it out with a game. Make sure, then kind of do a diagnostic check of your console with the game inside. Make sure everything checks out. But otherwise, that's pretty simple to change out a Nintendo NES pen connector. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you need to see how to clean cartridges, I have another video for this. Please like and share my videos. As always, thank you very much, guys. The Old School Game Vault. Take care. Bye-bye.